I'll now call to order this virtual meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee. Before we start, I have to read the land acknowledgement statement. On September 29th, 2021, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smith
Recording in progress
has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of the nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. All participants are asked to keep microphones on mute and cameras off during the staff presentations and committee discussions. Participants wishing to speak to an application during the public meeting portion of this meeting will be called on by name one at a time during the public meeting. At that time, participants called on may unmute their microphone and turn on their camera if they wish to speak. If you wish to speak to and receive further notice regarding an application and have not signed in with the recording secretary, please speak now. Public participants will receive another sign-in opportunity when the public meeting portion of the meeting is called to order. I'm John Wanless, Chairman of the Planning Advisory Committee. I will now take attendance of our committee members and staff. Please raise your hand and declare your presence when I call your name. Jacqueline Grimes.
Present.
Councillor Wendy Alford. Bill Widdenmeyer. Jack Anderson.
Present.
Councillor Jay Brennan.
Present.
Senior Planner Carl Grinke.
Present.
Planning Coordinator Mary Remig.
Present.
To review, committee members are asked to raise their hand when they wish to speak. Alternatively, please find an appropriate opportunity at any available time to notify the chair verbally if you wish to speak. Item number 2 on the agenda. I need an approval for the agenda.
Second.
A, seconded by Jack. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes. Planning Advisory Committee meeting, August the 12th, 2021. Can I get a motion for approval? Jacqueline? Do I have a seconder?
I was not present for that, so it would have to be Mr. Anderson. Jack?
Will you second that, Jack?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Disclosure of monetary interest. Public meeting. Report on PAC 21-16, a minor variance application MV-2104. We'll now open the public meeting portion of the Planning Advisory Committee meeting. Please be advised, you may leave this meeting at any time. Applicants, agents, and members of the public logged into Zoom to participate in the public meeting are asked to please keep their microphones on mute and cameras off until called upon by the chair. If you wish to speak to an application and have not signed in with the recording secretary, please speak now. The purpose of this Planning Advisory Committee meeting is to consider minor variance application MV-21-04 for 44 Chambers Street. The application seeks approval for a minor variance to the town's zoning bylaw to permit a ratio of 1 parking space per dwelling unit, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum of 1.25 parking spaces per dwelling unit. If approved, the minor variance will accommodate a parking lot accessory to a 28-unit, 4-story apartment building at the corner of Chamber and Bay Streets. The meeting is your opportunity to provide any feedback on this application, and the Planning Advisory Committee welcomes any questions and comments you may have. We encourage you to do so at this public meeting. As the Planning Act rules suggest, the public's ability to voice objections later in the process may be limited if a written or oral comment is not submitted. The Planning Advisory Committee is the approval authority for minor variance applications. The committee will review the application and any comments or concerns from the public to inform their decision for the minor variance application. The committee may choose to make a decision on the minor variance application this evening. I will now pass the meeting over to our senior planner, Carl Grenke, to report on notification and summary of the application MV-21-04. Following his presentation, I will call on public participants one at a time to offer feedback, comments, or questions regarding the proposal. I will also offer the applicant in attendance an opportunity to address concerns brought to the committee by the public. Carl?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your thank you everyone for your patience in awaiting the beginning of the meeting. So I'll just introduce myself as the town senior planner, and I'll ask that we have a PowerPoint presentation teed up here. So, and here it is. So as the chair had indicated, this is a. We're just going back to the beginning here. Next slide, please. So we have a proposal here for a multi-residential and apartment building at the corner of Chambers and Bay Street. So the property is currently vacant. Historically, it has contained a seasonal chip wagon, which has been, I believe it's been discontinued this year. So the proposal is to construct a 4-story apartment building, primarily with underground parking on the lower level with 1 residential unit, and then higher, and then 3 stories above that. The property is zoned general commercial special exception 15. That's a special exception that was approved a number of years ago to accommodate residential an exclusively residential development at that location. So most of our downtown core has zoning that requires commercial on the ground floor, but on this particular property, the zoning already allows residential. So the height, the density, all of those provisions comply of this development otherwise complies with the bylaw except for parking. So the bylaw requires 1.25 parking spaces. So that's a total of 35 parking spaces. In this case, they're proposing to reduce that to 1 parking space per unit, a total of 28, and that will be divided between the indoor and outdoor parking. So that's what the committee is being asked to approve this evening. Next slide, please. So there's just a site plan showing the building that would be more flush with the corner of the streets with the proposed parking to the rear. There is some landscaping around the perimeter of the site. So there is a residential development on both sides of the property, and on the other side of Chambers Street, of course, is a retail plaza, including the Giant Tiger. Next slide, please. So that's the proposed elevation that's been submitted with the application package. Again, this is this is proposed at this point. It has not been approved. That is it is being looked at through the site plan control process. Next slide, please. So in this case, we have a proposal to basically amend or vary the zoning rules for the property right now. And the public meeting is an opportunity to hear from the public and those who are interested in this application to present your thoughts to the committee before the committee makes the decision. The applicants are also represented at this meeting, and they'll have the opportunity to respond to any questions or comments from the public or committee members. So this is unfortunately, we weren't able to complete the last meeting, so this is the second public meeting for this. In both cases, we have circulated in accordance with the Planning Act requirements, giving a minimum 10 days notice and posting on site. Next slide, please. So at this point, we have received some written feedback to this application. The Economic Development and Tourism Department supports the application. They've provided their comment that the development will provide affordable housing within the downtown, and acknowledge that a development geared towards affordable units would not need not everybody would have a car. Public Works Department similarly advised that they do not have any concerns with the application. We did receive some feedback from Andrew Mitten at 37 to 39 Main Street. In his experience, 1.25 spaces is typically needed to satisfy tenant needs. However, he acknowledged that with less parking, with more affordable units, there would be that they may not need as much. And he's speaking from his experience as a landlord. I'm not sure if he's signed on at this meeting. Next slide, please. So before the committee can approve a minor variance, there's 4 tests of the Planning Act set out that need to be met. Does the application conform with the general intent of the official plan? Does it conform with the general intent of the zoning bylaw? Is it desirable and appropriate use for the land? And finally, is this application minor in impact? So I'll just reiterate that the committee is being asked to consider the parking reduction. If the parking reduction were to be approved, then the overall site plan dealing with landscaping, servicing, design, all of that would be addressed through a site plan control application, and that's a separate planning application where we look at more of those design elements. So at this point, the parking is the zoning relief that we're looking at right now. Next slide, please. So broadly speaking, the general intent of the official plan, the site is designated downtown core, and the OP official plan does allow a broad range of uses, commercial, of course, being primary, but also residential and variety of other types of uses to sort of enhance that complete community. The area is in a targeted growth area that supports redevelopment, infill, and growth in centralized locations and support existing services. So that's in targeted growth areas. The plan supports or acknowledges 4 to 6 stories as a sort of density they would look for where the servicing is available. And the plan also, and that's really where the balancing act comes in. So on the one, and the plan's policies require us to balance the need for parking to support a thriving downtown with the need to minimize the impacts of parking upon a vibrant pedestrian and urban landscape. At the end of the day, we're creating a mixed use community where ideally there's opportunities for people to walk, and a vibrant developed downtown, of course, creates that critical mass that supports the businesses, and commercial units are already there. Next slide, please. So the zoning intent, ultimately, if we were to approve a reduction, then the committee would need to consider, the overall intent of the zoning bylaw. And the zoning bylaw regulates parking to minimize the pressure of on-street parking for residents and guests. So the policy as worded right now, it's an older policy. It's been in place since at least the 1990s. It is a one-size-fits-all policy. So regardless of whether these are bachelor, 1-bedroom, or 4-bedroom, the policy requires the same 1.25 parking spaces anywhere in town for an apartment building. So I think we do need to be carefully consider the location and sort of the surrounding context when we look at these. It's certainly not automatic that we would approve a parking reduction. So in 2018, the town did undertake a downtown parking utilization study that suggested that the on-street parking in this area was not used all that often, which suggests that that in the event that there are visitors or what have you, there is a reasonable amount of on-street parking available for that, and we haven't seen information that suggested the parking configurations or needs have changed since then. So in this case, the majority of the units are proposed as one bedroom, and there's a lot of amenities, grocery store service, retail, and employment uses nearby. So that's, if there is a community or a part of the town where there's a lot more of these features that are walkable and may reduce the need for a vehicle, it's in areas of the downtown core, especially close to groceries. Next slide, please. So the apartment building that's proposed is in accordance with zoning and supported in the official plan. So the housing task force that's appointed as strategic as one of council's strategic priorities to support housing has created 17 separate recommendations to improve housing supply and affordability in the town. And while these recommendations are not currently incorporated in policy, I know there's a zoning review underway right now, but they did emphasize at least the support in principle for investigating reducing parking to accommodate residential units and minimize the cost of creating spaces. So again, we don't know the zoning. This will all be looked at as we do the zoning review. We don't know how that's going to apply to individual properties, but I think that highlights at least council's intent to look at parking reductions. So next slide, please. So the feedback from the department suggests that staff are not anticipating operational impacts regarding on-street and public parking supply. So we have not received information or suggestions from the community that this impact would create a significant negative impact on the community. So if the variance is improved for the parking, that would accommodate, we would still be looking to address the design details and other similar features through the site plan approval. If the variance is not approved, then the developers can still proceed with try to fit the 35 parking spaces on there, and that would result in a reduction in some of the green space that's proposed on the site. They may still be able to do it, but they would have to rejig their plan. Next slide, please. So based on that, staff recommend the committee approves this application subject to the conditions that the application permits the construction of the dwelling house as detailed on the plan attached to the notice and forming part of this decision, and the decision is valid for a period of 2 years in which a building permit must be obtained. So I'll conclude there, and I'll pass the baton back to the chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. We'll begin by hearing from members of the public. All comments and questions need to be addressed through the chair. If you have signed in with the recording secretary and have requested to speak to this application, I will call on you by name one at a time to offer your feedback. Brad Millen. Hello, Brad. Are you there?
Mary, I'd understand you'd been consulting with Brad prior to the meeting. Is he looking to participate and provide feedback?
Okay, I got a note here from Mary on here. He didn't want to speak.
Sorry, John, he didn't confirm that he wished to speak to the application, but just verbally, I would advise Brad that like he's welcome to reach out or call me at the office here at extension 1136 in the event that his mic's not working.
Hello, Brad. Okay, Brad, if you can hear me, if you have any concerns, just reach out and you can contact Mary Remig at the town hall in the planning department. Thank you. I'll now call and open the floor to the agent to provide any clarification or comment on the public's concerns. Well, Chris, are you there? Or?
Oh, hi, John.
Hi. Did you want?
Chris, are you coming on too, Chris, or what are you doing? Oh, there he is.
Still here. Yep.
Okay.
I guess.
A little history of this project, or?
Sure.
Okay, so we are the registered property owners of this property. We started working with Carebridge Community. What's their exact title, Chris? Help me out with that.
Carebridge Community Support Program.
Correct. And at St. Francis de Sales, when we were working with them to try and take possession of the former school at the church. That has it been removed yet? I haven't even noticed actually, but anyway, that's a different note. So we started working with them on affordable housing, probably 18 months ago, Chris?
Yeah, about that. Yeah, with the first program.
Correct. So we are basically acting on their behalf to try and get some affordable housing in Smith Falls. They have, how many did you say earlier, Chris? 130 units now, or?
130 units currently, and then they manage and maintain 3 seniors' homes as well.
So we were working
Group
with
homes,
them. They're a not-for-profit organization that is looking to bring affordable housing to Smith Falls. So we facilitated the purchase of the land. We intend to sell them the land back at our cost and probably construct the building for them. So it's a win-win for the town of Smith Falls. They have applied for a rapid housing initiative grant through the federal government through CMHC that would pay for this complete project. So it would actually be allowed to truly be affordable. So that we're waiting for a decision from the government on that, and that hopefully will be within the next couple of months. So we'll know about that shortly. Carebridge will be taking possession of the property in the next couple of weeks to a month, and hopefully the project will move forward fairly quickly. So is the minor variance 100% necessary? No, it's not. But does it allow green space and to make the building beautiful? Absolutely. So basically, we're facilitating this on behalf of Carebridge. So I don't know if I can answer any other questions.
No, but the client has referenced that, with all of their other units, they average less than 1 car per suite. Therefore, why it was also their push for this minor variance to allow just to give more back to the tenants for green space, beautify the property instead of just hogging it up with extra asphalt. So
it's the neighbors at the back towards Main Street. Otherwise, it would just be an asphalt jungle and a building filling up the lot. We've allowed for more landscape space than required by the bylaw for sure. Any questions from any of the members?
Thanks,
Sorry,
Chris.
through the chair. Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay. Before I get questions from the committee members, Wendy sent me an email here, and I'll read her comments. With regard to 44 Chambers Street parking reduction, I am very supportive of staff's recommendations, as this affordable housing project will inject into the town's housing stock much needed geared to income units. In a project of this nature that is in a walkable downtown core, there is less pressure on the need for 1.25 spaces per unit. So I just wanted to get that recorded on there. So I open the floor to the committee for any comments here. Jay?
Yeah, I too am supportive. I mean, it's not a big, it's just a minor variance. And actually the green space is a bonus for us. And more of a bonus is the affordable housing component and the fill up. Actually a piece of property that has been vacant for many, many years. And I know that the building will be nice once we get the site plan. I think it'll be great. And it'll help the downtown. People will be able to walk everywhere and live downtown. So this is just one little piece in my opinion. And hopefully the federal government comes through with that grant and we can get this going. But this is just, you know, this is just icing on the cake, really. It's just a dotting of an I or crossing of a T for us. So I'll support staff recommendation.
Thanks, Jay.
Don, can I jump in 1 second?
Yeah.
This project is, sorry, I made it sound like it's contingent upon government financing. This project is going ahead regardless if it's CareBridge or ourselves doing it. So let me be perfectly clear of that. The sugar would be if the government was going to fund it, no question about it. The federal government was going to fund it, but the project is going ahead regardless. So
that's good to hear. And I mean, they should step up to the plate because this fits their program. So hopefully they step up to the plate. And thank you for saying that.
Thanks, Chris. Anyone else? Jacqueline?
I think it's a great use of the property. I'm in support of it.
John? Okay, the affordable housing aspect of it, that's more than important. And you know, just looking at it overall, I think the parking situation is always something that's important to me. But in this case, I think we're talking of something a little bit different. So I will support it, but more and more I'm getting concerned as far as the parking allotment for some of the different construction projects. But no, I support this wholeheartedly, and I go along with the different recommendations of those involved.
Thanks, Jack.
Okay.
Yes, Jacqueline?
Yeah, I agree with Jack, and certainly when we had an application in a parking reduction, I wasn't in favor of it for the last one, but that was more because there was a commercial component to it. So this is a little bit of a different project with it being strictly residential. So yeah.
Carl?
Thank you. And just to confirm for the committee and those watching as well, I think I appreciate the conversations we are having about parking requirements. Our consultants who are working on the zoning review that's one of the things that they are looking at for the downtown core. So I think I'm really glad that we're having these conversations, and we may have a different and the zoning rules regarding parking may be different in the next several months, but certainly the committee will have the opportunity to provide feedback on that and how you want to see parking regulated as a whole.
Thanks, Carl.
Do you need a motion, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, well, just hang on a sec.
Okay.
Okay, the committee is tasked with making a decision for this application with Section 45 of the Planning Act. If the committee is ready to do so, I will now entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Thank you, by Jack. All in favor? Carried. Thank you for attending and participating in the planning process of this application, MV-21-04. Any participants that have not signed in and required further notice regarding the application are asked, please reach out to the planning coordinator, Mary Remig, by phone at Town Hall. Appeal rights as prescribed by the Planning Act will be outlined on the notice of decision. If you have any questions on this application or the process, I invite you to get in touch with our senior planner or planning coordinator. This concludes the public meeting portion of the Planning Advisory Committee meeting. We will now move on to the next items on our agenda.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Chris.
Enjoy your evening.
We'll move on to item number 6, priority issues. Report on PAC-21-17, site plan control application, SP-21-16 at 96 Lombard Street. And before we get started, I'll report, Wendy left a report here. With regard to 96 Lombard, I am supportive in principle of the application. This is not much different from what was planned on and approved in 2017. I am glad to see 2 driveways and emphasize on landscaping to soften the hardscape. Additionally, this is appropriate infill along the highway commercial. Wendy. I'll now turn it over to Carl.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make this brief. Planning Advisory Committee is asked to provide any feedback that you might have on a new commercial site plan we have at 96 Lombard Street. So this was originally approved by council in around 2017 for a Petro-Canada gas station, car wash, and convenience store. And that development didn't proceed. The property was sold to another developer who's looking at bringing forward something similar, but basically replacing the car wash with a drive-through restaurant being an A&W. So a lot of the elements of the original site plan are similar. A few pieces have changed. Certainly, we are looking at potentially more traffic with the drive-through restaurant, but it is a commercial site. It is zoned and designated for highway commercial development. So the proposal does meet the zoning. So just to update the committee on where this is at, we have with respect to the access, it is a challenging, of course. We are on an arterial road not too far from a couple of signalized intersections. So we have asked for a peer review of the traffic impact study just to confirm the safety and appropriateness of the 2 wider intersections there. So certainly before this gets presented to council, we'll have those engineers comment and respond there. So at this point, I'm interested in any feedback the committee may have. I think some of the broader feedback from my end is we would be looking for a little bit more work on the facade, especially on the sides where there is some blank walls, looking for either signage, lighting, or some sort of other architectural features to sort of break that up a little bit. I like the trees in the front. I just want to make sure that the trees in the front are appropriate in that area given the power lines. We want them to be able to grow. And then the other comment I had is that the site plan itself is very specific just to the developed site. It's a huge site. Otherwise, it does extend way back. The best development land is, of course, at the front, but I would be looking for some landscaping sort of along the side and potentially even a picnic table or something like that right by the walkway. I do appreciate some of the things that they have done. They've brought in a sidewalk to connect to the drive-through and to the restaurant. So whatever pedestrians, if there are pedestrians on Lombard Street, and we hope there will be, we'll use that. And certainly as far as there's a lot to like about this, and there's a few things that I've recommended be sort of looked at, and certainly I welcome any feedback from the committee as if there's anything else that you'd like to see as well. Thank you.
Any comments?
How long ago did we first give the okay for that previous development?
2017.
2017, yeah. You know, I wondered, how things were taking so long there, but do we have any indication if these people have a go, like when they might be talking of, or?
Well, they are hoping to get, I've been in discussions with them since late last year on the property, but we didn't receive the site plan until sort of very late this summer. So it's a fairly recent plan what we have here. My understanding is they are hoping to at least get a lot of the sort of the groundwork and site work done before freeze up this fall.
Okay.
Jay?
Yeah, I'm supportive of it. And pending a traffic peer review, I think that's an important thing to get done. And as you said, it's zoned properly, and there's no reason why there can't be commercial there. And also, I liked your comments, Carl, on the aesthetics. And I think we went through this with the last property on that road, the KFC. And I think there were some tweaks made to that particular property that actually look really good. It looks great, and I think that type of mindset is a good thing to keep in mind when we're doing this. But other than that, I think it's a great addition to that. Again, vacant property that's been vacant forever, and hopefully, I think that probably since we've gone through this and in 2017, I think all the Parks Canada, the Conservation Authority pieces have been dealt with really, and now that it's not a car wash, it might be even easier that way. So I'm supportive of it.
Thanks, Jay. Jacqueline?
Yeah, I just have a question for Carl. You made reference to it being a really large property and doing something more at the back, but would they be even allowed to do anything any farther back with setbacks from the water, wetland, kind of all that?
It would need a lot of work. There is a few acres of commercial land at the rear. I think in order for that's sort of outside of the floodplain and the wetland setbacks. So that would, the challenge to that would be access. So certainly we may not want, it would be challenging to see. And again, I don't want to speculate on a concept that hasn't been presented, but it would be challenging to, I suppose, introduce a significant amount more traffic at an intersection, sort of at a spot in between the intersections there, and then have that to the back. So they may have to be creative about how they're going to get to the back. And I understand there have been conversations, but yes, there is some commercial land that's zoned at the back, and that's. But I think obviously they would need to work depending on how much of that gets used and what the future development concept looks like. They would have to work closely with the Conservation Authority in terms of flood elevations, as well as managing impacts on the swale PSW that's back there as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, the 1 to 100 flood line would control what they could do.
Yes.
Well, I'm in favor of it. So do you need an motion, Carl?
That would be a motion would be good.
Also move.
Do I have a seconder? Jacqueline? All in favor? Carried. We have no correspondence items. Item number C, project updates. None identified. Next meeting, Planning Advisory Committee meeting, October 14th, 2021. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Oh, first of all, let me apologize for that. I had the wrong information on my calendar. I apologize for being late with that.
Thanks, Jack.
That's quite all right, Jack. I'm glad you can make it.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's an unusual, I don't remember the last time we've ever had a Wednesday meeting, so.
No, it wasn't that. I just looking at all the dates in that, and I had it down as tomorrow. So.
Oh,
Better
glad.
tonight than waiting till next week or the week after.
Yeah. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And thanks
Okay.
again, Jack, for making an attempt.
Yeah, no, I apologize.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for your patience as well. I know when we tried to do this a couple weeks ago, it was very stressful certainly even for Mary and I trying to.
Really stressful for you, Carl.
But I appreciate you all coming together for this special meeting and for assembling for this. So I am grateful. So thank you for that. And enjoy your evening.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night.
Take care.
Thank you.